What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Clean Finish Podcast here with Blackjack. Follow me on Twitter at It's21Blackjack. Follow the podcast Twitter at Need Clean Finish. No Wiza again. I haven't spoken to him in quite some time, not even just like non-wrestling stuff or anything like that. I know everybody's going to be asking the question. We just haven't spoken. I don't know. Maybe I should say something or, I don't know what at this point. I just, I want to have fun with, the wrestling podcast. And for me, at some point, I did want to see this podcast go in I don't want to say a serious direction. You always want it to be fun and to have its elements, but, it wasn't my intention for, when I came back to do a wrestling podcast, because I had I was doing Instant Heat for a while and it was just me on my own. I had no intention of making a wrestling podcast where, sure, if it's a joke for a little while, you kind of just make fun of the fact that, the Wyatts aren't there or whatever, but it just became a gag that was running too long and it wasn't funny anymore. It was just, I want to be able to talk about the show in its entirety, and I want to be able to talk about characters there, whether they're irrelevant or let me not say irrelevant, but they're not as important as other characters, or they're lower on the card, or the way they've been mishandled or mistreated and all that. I can't. I need to be able to speak about everybody equally. And for me, I want to be able to take that sort of a serious step with a wrestling podcast where you speak about the wrestlers for what they are. If you want to say that, the Wyatts are, why do they matter? They're not doing anything to make us feel like they matter. That's one thing, but to completely no-sell them and not even acknowledge their existence, I think is a boundary going a bit far. So I don't know. Maybe I just need to talk. But I mean, that's just where it is. It's just ever since that podcast, I haven't really said anything. I mean, because I explained it early on, even before we came on the air, I said, and then we went on air. I explained to him, I just said, look, I'm kind of tired of this gag. We're getting ready to go into the Royal Rumble where they're going to be a major part of it. They're going to have a match at Mania. We have to discuss them. We just have to. And I'm not going to sit here and do the gag anymore. I can't. It's making it hard for me to really, because I want to give, a full opinion and thought about, what we're talking about and who's there. So yeah, that's all I know. So yeah, it's just, I'm going to keep the show chugging along. If, I have no problem with them coming on. If he wants to jump in right now, he could. And I don't know what's going on with him either. He could be out for all I know today. But he knows that this is the normal time. So it is what it is. There's no animosity for me. I can understand that, he did his whole bit and he did the eulogy and whatnot, but for me, this is the direction I want to go in. And if it's just that we're at a creative disagreement on it, then, so be it. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about, Raw this week. Let's start there because I didn't do a review. I wanted to do a review on Monday, and I was just tired. I couldn't do it. I just could not. I got to about like midway through the second hour, and there was still about 90 minutes to go. And I was like, when this show is over, I'm just gonna go to sleep. I can't do it. It's such a huge. It almost feels like a chore having to watch Raw, and the ratings reflected that as well. I believe the show started out at like a 3.6, dropped down to a 3.5 at the second hour, and by the last hour is at a 3.1. It's a $400,000 viewer drop off. That's kind of amazing. Let's see. But let's go ahead and actually talk about the show. This Raw did not start off with a boring 20-minute promo. I can tell you that much. It was actually very, very good. I didn't think I would ever say that about a talking segment of Raw, but it was very good. 1, because the Authority wasn't out there. 2, because Roman Reigns wasn't out there. And 3, because it had a point. Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman started out the show, and already the crowd was getting crazy, already into it, because, when you hear Brock Lesnar's music, shit's about to go down. It's the best music there is. And 2 or 3 minutes into Paul Heyman's promo, where Paul Heyman is there, and he's, pretty much just giving us a little bit of exposition about, everything that's going on, trying to sell us a little bit on Roman and Dean. And then he starts calling Ambrose a bit of a nut job and how he's crazy and everything. And then Ambrose actually comes out. And Ambrose did something here that made him more believable than anybody else that has gone up. Well, except maybe Taker. Taker's different. Outside of Taker, he's been more believable than any other opponent that has gone and had any sort of confrontation with them. And they didn't even fight. Ambrose came out and essentially was in Brock's face and talked in reality of, pretty much what was going to happen. He's like, yeah, I know you're going to take me to Suplex City. Take me there. Suplex me all you want. He knows the reality of it. He knows what he's getting himself into. He's not afraid of Brock Lesnar, and he knows that he may leave out, with a bunch of scratches, bruises, whatever it may be. And I think what's so great about Dean is that he's not, they like to say, oh, he's a lunatic, he's crazy, he doesn't think, he's just, just such an idiot, or he's stupid or whatever. But he's really not. Like, they don't really understand the lunatic that Ambrose is. He's not dumb. He's actually remarkably smart. He just turns his brain off when it comes to fights. And in this promo, he pretty much just walked up to Brock and was like, yeah, you're going to do all the stuff to me? Yeah, fine. No, that's great. But I'm going to wear you out because I'm going to keep getting back up, and I'm going to get back up because I'm the Iron Man of the WWE. It's what he prides himself on. This is a man, and he has the background to back it up. He survived on the Last Man Standing match. He's been in a ridiculous Hell in a Cell matches. He's been in that crazy match with Seth Rollins, that False Count Anywhere match, where he got powerbombed through chairs, and he had that crazy ladder match with Seth Rollins. He's gone through that ladder where he nearly killed himself, or looked like he killed himself after eating a powerbomb by Luke Harper. This is the guy. It's the one guy that makes sense right now to go up against Brock. And he sold it the right way too. Both guys actually sold it the right way, where it's like, okay, I'm the Iron Man. You're not going to take me. I'm going to keep getting back up. And Brock just looked at him like he's crazy. Like, oh, okay, whatever. All right, yeah, you think you're going to outlast me? All right, fine, whatever. And laugh it off. But and I think he said, and Dean pretty much just said, you know what? I just wanted to come out here and tell you that I wanted the title, and how bad he wanted it. He was going to fight him for it, and he said that he knows he's going to be beaten to death. but that he came out there specifically to see what the big deal was with Brock when he came out there. I think Ambrose actually came out expecting to get suplexed or expecting Brock to react and go all crazy. And when it didn't happen, Ambrose was just kind of like, all right, whatever. You're not going to suplex me? Fine. I'm going to get up out of here and leave. It was great. Loved it. It was perfect. So after that happened, they had what was the match after that? Did they do Kalisto and Rusev after that? I think they did, yeah. And this whole promo, by the way, only went about 10 minutes. I'm dead serious. It was 10 minutes. So then we had Kalisto versus Rusev. It was an okay match with I didn't really care for ending. I think it's just kind of almost ridiculous at times. Rusev, a guy that big, selling to a guy that small, especially when Rusev had to sell a Hurricane Rana in the corner of the announce table near that barricade there, so that Kalisto could go and get the count-out victory. I mean, look, I understand you want to sell the size thing and make Kalisto seem as if, like, okay, in order to beat certain people, he has to resort to playing to his size. But I'm not I wasn't a fan of just the finish. I think because they're not taking Kalisto, or they're not making Kalisto seem like serious enough yet. And not serious in the matter of like, oh, like he's not a competitor and he doesn't do anything in the ring. It's just, you want to get Kalisto some clean wins. I understand, Rusev's not really the guy that you want to do that against, but give him some opponents so that he can get some pins, pick up some momentum. I don't know. I just wasn't a fan of doing a count out finish this early into his reign. After that, I believe was the Social Outcast came out. Or no. The Usos may have came out first. And then afterwards, the Social Outcast came out. No Bo Dallas, no Bray Wyatt tonight either, because they went to go see their grandfather, Blackjack Mulligan, who was hospitalized. I don't know the details on that quite yet. Let's see. I don't remember too much about the match. It was just kind of like whatever. It's kind of weird because Bo Dallas is really the needed element between the four of them, and to have him not there was a little detrimental because basically his job is almost being like the baby face of the group, where all three of them bicker and argue over each other, and he just, guys, we're all like blah 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 blah. So him not being there was a bit off to me. Let me actually look back at this match. Let me see. Yeah, it's just it was just kind of like a whatever match. I didn't have anything great to say about it, other than Lillian Garcia calling the Usos the Grammy Award-winning Usos, and just commentary was on her all night about that, all damn night. Couldn't just let it go. Afterwards, we had wait, I'm way ahead. Holy cow. Okay. Jumping back after that Kalisto match, they had the backstage segment with the Authority, and Roman and Dean were just sitting in front of the table where the championship belt was just out there. Triple H doesn't want to carry it around. He just has it in a glass case for everybody to view and see. And here's Dean and Roman just kind of sitting there looking at it. So Stephanie comes in and talks to them and talks about how, oh, we're already in your minds and we're plotting and blah, 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 blah. Oh, don't worry. You two will start fighting each other soon enough. And, Dean and Roman are obviously no selling this. I remember there was a segment, I can't remember where it was, where they talked about, what happens if you two end up in a championship match together. And Dean just goes, I'm going to punch him. Yeah, just like, we're going to fight. It's okay. And then afterwards, we'll probably go get some beers. But, you know, when we're in the ring, you just fight. It may have been when they first tried to before they went into a match against each other. Because I know the interview was on SmackDown, but whatever. Anyway. I remember that Stephanie announced the New Day and Dean Ambrose and Reigns match, and there were huge New Day chants. I mean, the second they found that they were getting New Day in the main event, the crowd chanted New Day in the middle of the segment. They then did a Nikki and Brie segment where they talked about Nikki and her injury and her recovering, and Brie this interview was terrible with her. Mostly because Brie doesn't get a lot of time to talk, and she didn't really have anything to talk about. She just liked using the word fearless a lot, and talking about how her sister is fearless and stupid Bella branding. Yeah, don't take this the wrong way. I hope Nikki recovers, and I hope she does fine and is able to live a nice and healthy life. But I could never cheer for the Bellas. I can't. I don't like them. I don't care for them. They're not my cup of tea. But it seems like they're going to turn Brie face as Charlotte came in afterwards and started taking credit for injuring Nikki. So that seems like something they're going to work and use into a total diva storyline. And then we had that Usos and Social Outcast match. Afterwards, they had the Miz TV segment with AJ and the Miz. My God, I was afraid of this whole segment because I thought they would have AJ Styles talk. And then when AJ Styles came out for this, the reaction was actually very lukewarm. It was not a great, or even, I would even say a good reaction for AJ. It was just kind of like, here's AJ Styles. And I got scared. They started talking about the whole small thing. You know, he's like 5'9". He's like a redneck. They talked about his football career. And then they talked about, him being wrestling over in Japan and everything. And Miz went on and on and on until he finally started to get the heat where he says, I can make you remind me a lot of my protege, Daniel Bryan. And that's where he got his heat. And he started putting him over by pretty much berating him. And I got to say, listen, I remember when I first came back to wrestling and I said how much I hated The Miz. And I think it's because I saw him wrestle. And I hated watching Miz wrestle. But my God, The Miz is a character. The Miz as a character is an excellent character. And he did everything in his goddamn will and got AJ over by the end of this fucking segment. Because they were lukewarm in the beginning. And by the end, they were chanting AJ Styles and ready for him to beat down The Miz. And it worked. Miz was great. Miz was great. They got AJ over. Absolutely wonderful. Now, I hope they don't play up too much of that whole redneck thing. If they want to make him the next Daniel Bryan, go for it. I don't think anybody's going to have too much of a problem with that. Which is weird because I don't get a small vibe when I look at AJ. I guess maybe it's because over in Japan, everybody's smaller. But when I see him in WWE, he does look very small in comparison to others. I mean, Jericho's towering over him, and Jericho's short. So afterwards, we had the Charlotte and Brie match. I can't do it with Brie. Brie actually won this match too, which I don't understand why. I understand, yes, for Total Divas and, she's going to do it for Nikki, but I mean, just from a booking standpoint, why in God's name would you have Brie Bella beating Charlotte? I mean, God, no. Nothing else I want to say about that match. Afterwards, you had Eric Rowan versus The Big Show. Hated this match too. Hated it. It's not much I want to talk about because essentially Big Show wins in the end with the how did Big Show win? Did he win via count out? I don't even remember. How he won. It's irrelevant how he won because after he won, he pinned Rowan. It may have been with a knockout punch. I want to say it was. But after he wins, then the Wyatt family just comes in and destroys him anyway. So it's not like normal 50-50 booking. It's the other way that they 50-50 book. They 50-50 book in the way that nobody gets over. So if you're going to have the Wyatts destroy Big Show at the end, just let him get the fucking win. Just let him win and call it a day. All you got to do. It really, really drives me nuts how bad they are at just letting their guys get over. This is part of the struggle of guys getting over right here. Yeah, it annoys me. After that, we had the Tyler Breeze versus Tyler Breeze versus Titus O'Neil match. Nothing to talk about here. Titus O'Neil won, hit the the Clash of the Titus, and beat Breeze clean in the center. No plans for Tyler Breeze. I'm still not really sure what they're doing with Titus O'Neil. They're giving him wins. He's looking strong, but what's next for him? Then Triple H was backstage and talked to Brock about letting Ambrose just walk up to him. Said maybe he was getting soft. Brock just kind of took in those words and says, I guess we'll have to see at WrestleMania. Calling a shot, pretty much. Afterwards, we had Sasha Banks, who came out and cut a promo talking about how she's tired of people stealing the spotlight from her, that she's on her own now. And Naomi and Tamina came out, and that's pretty much what they did here, was take the spotlight away from her. And they talked a little bit about what did they do here? They talked a bit about we're totally cool. We're split now, but that's fine. We're cool. We can still be friends and everything. And Sasha said, Sasha was talking about, you can hang out by my match. That's fine. You still got my back. Fine. Great. So it doesn't make any sense. What was the point of doing that whole promo and saying you're going to stand on your own and then say, oh, that's cool. You got my back. Yeah. You can sit outside. I didn't get that. It made no sense to me. And then what happened afterwards made even less sense. So Sasha and Becky Lynch are having this match. And then at one point, Sasha and Becky get to the outside, and they go to try to attack Becky, and Sasha fends them off because I guess she wants to do things on her own, even though she said have my back. And then Sasha and Team Bad just started fighting, and then Becky came in for the save, and then Sasha and Becky stood in the ring together looking at Team Bad and NXT chants. I don't know what's going on. I can't make heads or tails of anything that happened in that match. I can't. Afterwards, we had Kevin Owens versus Dolph Ziggler. And we're right back to, I don't understand booking. I really don't understand it. It was what's funny is that I really wanted to quote Kevin Owens when he tweeted it at the time. He had tweeted out that he is looking forward to continuing his undefeated streak against Dolph Ziggler and improving to 9-0. And the second he tweeted that, I was like, he's getting ready to lose tonight. He's getting ready to lose tonight. I know he is. But then I thought again, and I was like, you know what? No, it wouldn't make any sense. They're trying to build up Kevin Owens. He'll be okay. Nope. Lost clean to Dolph Ziggler on a zigzag. I don't understand it. Ziggler is like on the decline. He's not really doing anything. They're not doing anything with him, really. I don't know what plans they have for him. Kevin Owens is a guy who used to have the claim that he beat John Cena in his first match ever. Now that's completely lost its luster and appeal. He doesn't have the Intercontinental Championship anymore. I don't know what they're doing with this guy. What are they building him towards, and who are they building him for? Is it all of a sudden, oh, we have nothing for you, so you can take L's? I don't know. I have no clue. But man, losing to Dolph Ziggler, that's just a bad look. It's a really bad look. Then afterwards, we had the R-Truth and Goldust segment. Pretty much, Goldust was in the toilet. He was on the toilet and he got his shoe lost in the toilet or something like that. And R-Truth was just like, dude, you're weird. I don't want to be your partner. And Goldust just keeps trying to sell him. He's like, but listen, we want to be a tag team. Golden Truth. All that good stuff. And R-Truth is still declining, but at some point we know they're going to be together. So anyway, afterwards we had the main event, which was the New Day versus Dean and Roman Reigns, which is because that is actually a very good question. I forgot to bring that up. Why were they filming Truth going to the bathroom? That is a very good question because I keep forgetting about that. So anyway, we had Dean and Roman versus the New Day. I didn't have a lot of notes about this one either because it just kind of felt like a match. It was fun for what it was. It was notable, unbelievably notable, that they booed Roman Reigns' hot tag. He got boos during his hot tag, and Ambrose got cheered, especially when he got to finish off the match with Dirty Deeds. Yeah, it seems like they really went strong pushing Ambrose in this episode, even though we got F5'd in the end when Brock Lesnar came out. But they seemed intent on building towards Dean Ambrose. Here's my one thing, and I'm writing an article right now. It's in the process. I haven't finished it quite yet, but I've realized that ever since Dean Ambrose debuted with the Shield in WWE, Dean Ambrose has actually been the WWE's best asset in the company. He really has. There is, yes, Big E spanked Dean. Yes, that did happen. And the New Day talked about fan fiction about Ambrains. Yes, that it was a thing. It happened. But I'm dead serious when I say this. Dean Ambrose has been the best asset that this company has had. It's him and there's no one else. And I'll explain it to you this way. So when the Shield first started out, we all kind of thought at first, and I mean, WWE changed it in storyline later, but we all had the thought that, well, Dean Ambrose is the leader. He was the guy that was given the singles belt. He was given the United States Championship, while Seth and Roman kind of complimented each other and hit their own flaws while they worked. But Dean was the guy who could be the standalone. He was the guy cutting the promos. He was the guy doing a lot of the work. When it came time for the Shield to start showing some weakness, they put that on Dean. They let Dean take a lot of losses to CM Punk. A lot of them. He not only is he taking the losses, he's taking a lot of the lackey work too. So when it came time for for the roads to get over, who was taking the bump from Dusty? It was Dean. Who was the guy taking the bump for Jake the Snake and letting him put Damian on him? It was Dean. Who was the guy that when they feuded with the Wyatts 2 years ago, when it started this as a show like, oh no, Roman Reigns, he's the strong one and he's the leader. When they put him face to face and they let Roman be face to face with Bray at Elimination Chamber, guess who was the guy that actually got in his face? It was Dean. Dean went and while Roman and Bray were staring at each other and doing the whole big stare down, it was Dean who really got it started. He got all in his face. It started yelling at him, and he threw the first strike at Bray. As a matter of fact, he did a lot more with Bray in that match than Roman did. They brought to the outside. There was way more interaction between Bray and Dean than there was Bray and Roman. And if you remember Bray and Roman's singles match that they had on Raw, I want to say it was actually not that good. Dean was always the guy. When it came time for them to split, and they did the big turn, Dean Ambrose was the one whose face you remember because he made the reaction, and it sold everybody on him being a babyface. And just kind of like the look that he gave when he saw Seth that actually hit Roman. And when they split him off, Dean was the one that went after Seth. And Roman Reigns went off to go get Randy Orton because he RKO'd him. That was his only reason for getting Randy Orton, really. So during this time, the plan was, and it's justified in booking too. This isn't me making this up. Seth Rollins needed to get over as the top heel. And they were going to push Roman Reigns as the top face. So they gave Roman Reigns a ton of wins. And not only did they give him wins, but they let him beat big guys, especially guys like a Randy Orton. Seth Rollins needed Ambrose to get hot the entire time during their feud. So Ambrose, they had the whole Money in the Bank thing where he came up short. Ambrose relentlessly pursued him, constantly getting hotter and hotter and hotter. They had the lumberjack match. Everybody thought the lumberjack match would be so stupid. Lumberjack matches never work. Ambrose made it work with his constant pursuit and him almost completely no-selling a lumberjack match, throwing Seth Rollins to the outside, saying, "I will brawl you upstairs." He made it great. And he didn't exact his revenge. Then they had that match at Raw, and he got curb stomped through cinder blocks, helping to put Seth over. Afterwards, when he came back, again, relentless pursuit. The goofiest stuff that they could have given him, he made work. The whole dumping water on Seth's ice, the ice bucket challenge, saying this is for charity. The hot dog thing, going on the subway, kind of doing all this stuff. The I'll sell Sheamus t-shirt for a quarter when he was out there with Seth's briefcase. It was great. All of it was great. He was getting red hot. And you know what justifies it and doesn't make everything I'm saying just sound like I'm linking things together? He was so over that he had the hottest selling item in the best selling period for WWE in history. That Black Friday was the best selling day for WWE. They were 44% up. And Dean Ambrose had the top selling item. Yes, I do see Ryback. I'm not sold on him being Goldberg. I actually prefer him without the singlet because I always thought he looked stupid with the singlet. He looks better with the trunks. Whether he looks like Goldberg or not, he actually does look better with the trunks. But anyway, with Dean Ambrose, he was the hottest guy. And they knew that. So when they got to Hell in a Cell, when Ambrose should have, and a lot of our minds should have finally gone over and exacted his revenge on Seth Rollins, they instead introduced Dean Ambrose. Bray Wyatt. And all of a sudden, all the momentum that Dean Ambrose had, they used to rehab Bray Wyatt, and he went under in a feud again, losing 3 times to Bray Wyatt. And it kind of seemed like Dean Ambrose was in limbo for a while. Like, he just kind of seemed like a mid-carder. There's no reason to really care about him. And then he got his hands in a feud with Wade Barrett. He said he wanted the Intercontinental title because he wanted his face on a picture on the wall of headquarters, right? And during that feud, he was just relentless. in his pursuit of the Intercontinental title. He just constantly like barraged Barrett to try to get this title. He made the title matter because he wasn't going to stop. He was going to stop at nothing to get it. The man handcuffed Barrett to a ring post and forced him to sign a contract because he wanted that damn belt. He wanted it that bad. And when he lost via disqualification because he wanted to wrestle and Wade Barrett wanted to escape, he took the Intercontinental title from him and said, "You want this? You come take it from me. I'm the Intercontinental Championship. I will defend this title with my life." A guy without the championship made the championship. He wasn't the champion, and he was making it seem like it was this big, important thing. He worked with it for 2 weeks. It was gaining so much steam. And once again, they decided to take his steam, what he was doing that was making it work, and they really kind of just gave it to everybody else. All of a sudden, Stardust got involved, and Daniel Bryan got involved, and Dolph Ziggler got involved, and Luke Harper got involved, and R-Truth was there too, and everybody was stealing the title all of a sudden. They were taking Dean Ambrose's gimmick. And then they had the ladder match, and Dean Ambrose went through a ladder, as I mentioned earlier, and Daniel Bryan won the Intercontinental Championship and was immediately placed in the feud with Dolph Ziggler, and Dean Ambrose was pretty much an afterthought. So after that, Dean Ambrose went into a feud with Luke Harper after getting put through the table. Put through the ladder. They had an Extreme Rules match, and Dean Ambrose won his first pay-per-view. First ever pay-per-view. He finally won one. And afterwards, something very strange happened. Dean Ambrose all of a sudden found himself in the World Heavyweight Championship match, which didn't make much sense to me because at least Roman Reigns being there in that Fatal 4-Way, it's like, all right, he got cheated at WrestleMania. He wanted a shot. With Randy Orton, it's like, okay, well, he did beat Seth at Mania, but he kind of somewhat got cheated at the last pay-per-view. Dean didn't need to be here, except there was one problem. If the plan was for them to get Roman Reigns over, they needed somebody else that he could possibly feed off of in that match. And to be honest, when I first saw this match, I thought, you know what? Dean is just here to eat a pin. That's all he's here for. He's here to eat the pin, and that's it. And it's just going to be like, all right, if we finally got this out of the way, maybe they'll start doing a turn, or maybe they'll start doing stuff with the Shield or whatever. Who knows? And it turned out to be that Orton ate the pin. Orton ate the pin in that match. And the big thing to take away from that match isn't so much that Seth Rollins pinned Orton, but that after Seth and Randy got powerbombed through those tables, when it was finally down to Dean and Roman, the crowd was fully behind Dean and was booing Reigns. They were totally on board with Dean winning this. So what did they do? The next pay-per-view, they give Ambrose the title shot. Ambrose comes up there and fights for a title shot. And he gets it. Not Reigns. And it was weird that Reigns just kind of took a back seat and was totally okay with Ambrose doing this. And just said, hey, it's your time. You go ahead and you get it. And the Authority laid down a rule where they said, all right, you're fine, you'll get your title shot because he threatened Seth's life to get it. And they said if Roman Reigns interferes, that Dean Ambrose would lose, to try to like set some dissension there. And Dean Ambrose had his match against Seth Rollins at Elimination Chamber. And Dean Ambrose technically won. He had a loud pop, was crazy over. Everybody was totally on board with it. It was the reaction that they wanted because they were going to use Dean Ambrose again. Seth Rollins was somewhat getting cheered at this point. He was still beloved to a degree. So how do you get him over as a heel? You have to have a hot baby face in order to make it work. It's the same thing with Bray Wyatt, where people really love the Wyatt family. How do they get them to start hating them? You put them with Daniel Bryan, who's the top baby face. So here they put him with Dean Ambrose, a guy that, they have history. Yeah, no, we're totally behind Dean. And they finally got Seth Rollins booed by having that DQ finish and then having them try to jump Ambrose at the end and screw over Ambrose. But that's only part of the equation. The other part of the equation is that they need to get Roman over, because at some point they want Roman to beat Seth. So they got Roman to come out after the match, and a huge pop came for him because he was going to save his good old buddy, Dean Ambrose. They were using Dean Ambrose's overness to rub off of Roman Reigns, to get Roman over. This is what I mean by asset and why he's been the best asset. They've been using Dean and his connection with the crowd and how over he is to almost manipulate storylines over time and set up other people. So after that, they gave Dean Ambrose his rematch, but they still needed to find a way to get Roman Reigns over without starting any dissension, because you can't break away Dean and Roman yet, because you still gotta make sure. All right, is Roman gonna be a top face? How are we gonna get this to work? So Roman Reigns couldn't win Money in the Bank. He couldn't. Because if he wins Money in the Bank and Dean Ambrose wins, well, then Roman Reigns doesn't have to worry about Dean Ambrose anymore. He can just go on and cash in whenever he wants, win the championship. Dean Ambrose doesn't become an issue anymore. And if Dean wins the championship and Roman loses, well, that doesn't do Roman any favors, and that's not what they wanted. So they both had to lose. They needed to have Bray Wyatt there to stop Roman and prevent him from winning. And Dean Ambrose had to lose so that Dean Ambrose could still be with his brother, his best friend, and they could fight together with the Wyatts, and that rub can continue to happen. So as it goes on, we all know how that feud with the Wyatts goes. And as we got to the end of that feud, remember, at the time, Dean was the guy who was massively over. As we started to get to the end of the feud, Roman was the guy who was massively over. And now Dean was falling to the background. And by the time Roman got to that number one contenders match, Dean was the guy in the background now. And he was the guy cheering on Roman. It was so weird because after that Wyatt match, after the match with the Wyatts, Roman was almost taking on the entire family by himself, really. You know, they introduced Braun Strowman, and he got to beat Braun Strowman via countout, and he punked out all three of them, all three of the Wyatt family members. And then he got Bray all by himself, no challenge, just he beats Bray clean in the middle of the ring, and then that was it. No, trust me, Roman was massively over. Go back and watch that number one contendership match. Watch that number one contendership match where the whole night Roman Reigns by the end of the night was getting thunderous cheers. He was getting thunderous cheers by the end of that night. Everybody was crazy behind him. And when he got up in Seth Rollins' face, people were totally behind him beating Seth. And yes, it has to do a little bit with the fact that Seth was a bad champion. Well, he was booked poorly, and people wanted to see the belt off of him. But the big piece of the both of them is Dean. Now, Seth Rollins ended up getting injured, which threw a wrench into things, because originally Dean Ambrose had no part in that number one contendership match. Not even the preliminary match for that was he a part of. He was just there cheering on Roman. That's it. You fell asleep during that Raw? That Raw was actually amazing. That Raw was actually great from start to finish, believe it or not. Shame you missed that one, because that one was actually good. So after Seth gets injured, things changed all of a sudden. And they had to go to a 16-man formula to do the whole tournament and everything. And Dean Ambrose finally found himself right back in the title picture again. And Dean and Roman end up in the finals together. And of course, some people would have wanted Dean Ambrose to win, but Roman Reigns won and people were totally fine with it. And then they screwed him over with Sheamus. So Sheamus had screwed him over. And then Roman Reigns kind of went on his own way and kind of handled his feud with Dean in the background. And the thought was, hey, you know what? Dean finally served his purpose. We don't really need him anymore. We have Sheamus, this heel who people are going to hate enough that when Roman finally wins, it'll be fine. And then it didn't work out that way. So they brought in Vince. Vince got Roman over and they got the title on him and everything seemed fine. And then they did a stupid storyline. They did a really, really stupid storyline. With the whole Vince thing that I criticized from day one and people got on my case about. But now that we've seen how it's been drawn out, I think people started to understand more where I was coming from. And again, at the Rumble, they did the 1 versus all match. And with everything finally starting to seem like, well, they're giving Roman opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, it's not working. Like we see what you're trying to do. And why isn't Triple H come back and all that? Roman's just kind of running off scot-free. By the time they finally got back, so by the time they finally got to the Rumble, and they had that end segment there with Dean and Roman and Triple H and Sheamus there at the end. The rumor is that apparently an audible was called. Now, I don't know if this is true or not. But if it is true, whether it's true or not, let's say it was that an audible was called. And that originally it was going to be Roman and Triple H at the end. And that Triple H would have thrown out Roman. But that the audible called in the middle because Roman wasn't getting a good reaction was to throw him out and have it come down to Ambrose and Triple H. And everybody was completely behind Dean Ambrose. No, they were behind anybody winning at that point. Well, they really wanted to see Ambrose win. It was almost kind of like a test to see, all right, let's see how over this guy really is at this point right now. And sure enough, everybody responded nicely. And they finally gave Dean Ambrose the spotlight here for this Raw. And I'm starting to think, WWE realizes how much of an asset he is, even if they have used it in their favor and kind of manipulated him in a lot of ways. I'm starting to think, what if Dean Ambrose actually wins the triple threat? Because I can't imagine a situation where Roman Reigns winning helps him here. He's going up against Brock Lesnar, who everybody loves, and Dean Ambrose in his home state. They are not going to boo Dean Ambrose. I'm starting to wonder. Because what if they finally want to tell the story that they should have this whole time? With Dean as a babyface, you don't have to turn him heel yet. You don't. Trust me, he will make money as a heel. Now is not the time to do it. But what if they tell the right story for once? Which is that Triple H has said it, that Roman Reigns is essentially his guy. The only thing that Roman Reigns was missing is that he didn't have what it takes to he didn't want to do whatever it took to win. And that's why he picked Seth Rollins. Triple H has gone on notice saying that, correct? So what if it takes Dean Ambrose taking on Triple H at Mania for Roman to finally realize that maybe he does need some help. Maybe he does need to do whatever it takes to win. And they finally tell the story correctly. They turn Roman heel after Mania, have him join the Authority, and now this can justify why the Authority has never punished the guy. Where it's that they've been waiting for him to just finally realize it, to connect the dots. Because why the hell would they let Dean Ambrose even get in the spot to begin with? Obviously, they want to cause some friction, as they've said, but who are they trying to cause the friction with? Who actually is going to be the bad guy here? Because right about now, I know that people think that Roman Reigns is going to be the guy at Mania, but I'm starting to think, how much drawing power does Roman Reigns really have right now? Does he really have more than a Dean Ambrose? Does he really? Because, is the Roman Reigns really as big of a star as Cena, even though they want to make him the next Cena? Is he really? So I don't know. I'm not completely sold that Roman is going to win at the pay-per-view, honestly. I really do think there is a good chance Dean Ambrose could be winning at this pay-per-view. I don't think it's going to be Roman pinning Brock, unless, there's always a possibility that the Wyatts could come out and attack. I'm not a fan of them doing that and giving Roman they don't want to give Roman a cop-out victory. You really do not want to do that. If Roman's got to win, he's got to pin somebody. He has to. He can't luck his way into Mania. Yeah, I have my reason to believe Dean could actually win this. Dean could win this, and they just finally turn Reigns heel. And the Authority finally get the guy that they've always wanted. I think it makes sense. Will they do it? I don't know. IWGP. Well, they talk about IWGP all the time. They always do. They brought up that Brock Lesnar is a IWGP heavyweight champion. That's nothing new. So how does this all tie in when Seth comes back in? I haven't thought that far ahead. He's injured, dude, so he's not going to be back until SummerSlam. Who knows how that all happens? We'll see. So yeah, that was Raw. Sorry, I went off for a while there. Let's talk about NXT. Or go over some quick news that's kind of important. Bret Hart battling prostate cancer. Turns out it may not be that serious, but any news about cancer is serious and is never treated as good news. But the maybe the positive spin on it is that it may not be that serious. So yeah, I mean, I'm wishing Bret the best, but I guess we'll know more as we as we learn and as it unfolds. Nikki is apparently already rehabbing after the injury. She's already rehabbing. Let me see. There's a rumor that Sami Zayn and Bayley may be called up right after WrestleMania. There have been talks that Undertaker's opponent is going to be Braun Strowman. Let me very, very clearly repeat that again. Talks, nothing confirmed. Brian Alvarez has talked about that being a match at WrestleMania. He has not confirmed it, although he worded it in a way that made it sound like he was confirming it, but he wasn't. It has been talked about, though, that that could possibly be a match. I have no desire to see that match at all. Neither does he. But that there's a talk that it could be. They're talking about John Cena returning. Apparently, he can rehab this well enough where they're talking about him possibly returning to wrestle The Undertaker at Mania. I highly doubt that is happening, but then again, this is Super Cena we're talking about, so who knows? Lucha Underground, well, it debuted last week. The season 2 debuted last week. And then episode 2 just went up this past Wednesday. I haven't gotten a chance to see it. But it looks like Puma and Pentagon Jr. are starting a feud. Stardust went on to tweet and talk about how we'll never see Cody Rhodes again. I mean, this isn't anything new. He's been doing this for a while. Who knows? Shinsuke Nakamura's contract, it's reported that it's going to be 3 years. So it's a 3-year deal, which I think is pretty awesome. I hope he stays around for as long as fucking possible because he's phenomenal. Absolutely. He should be a superstar over here. Let's see what else. I think that's mostly it in terms of wrestling news. Cesaro is advertised, by the way, for a tour of Germany for the WWE, which doesn't mean that it's that he's going to wrestle or anything, but good to know that he's at least showing up. Yeah, there was a rumor of like a tag match. Yeah, it was going to be like Taker and Kane versus the Wyatts or something like that. I don't need to see that match again. I really, really don't. All right, let's go ahead and talk about NXT. Let me pull up my notes very quickly here. NXT should be an easy show to get through. That Dallas show looks like it's going to be amazing, but the NXT shows themselves have been just okay recently. So it started off with the Vaudevillains and the Hype Bros. The Vaudevillains are supposed to be heels now, but they really have got to change the music on them. They're not going to work as heels if they have that music. And I didn't really get a heely vibe from them really either, especially afterwards when they pose and did their normal pose. They're fine. I'm totally on board with them, but they've got to make them heel. They can't be like tweener-ish. And the crowd didn't react to them like they were heels either, so I don't know. Picked up the victory here. Not a lot to really talk about. I mean, Baron Blade or what is the hype man's name? Mojo Rawley. There we go. Just kind of run around all crazy. I think he actually ate the pin. Yeah, it was a whatever match to me. I need to see more heel work from them. Afterwards, they they showed the battle royal that happened for Carmella, who became the number 1 contender. Tom Phillips was backstage with her. They talked about the match tonight against Emma. She talked about her whole friendship with Bayley, and then the match that they'll have. She said that she was going to beat Emma, and that she would become the next NXT Women's Champ, friends with Bayley when it was all said and done. I believe everything that they're saying, that she's saying. I believe that they'll still be friends after this is all done, because this isn't WWE where everything turns into a rivalry or whatever. Somebody's got to be a heel and be a total bitch. I think that they're probably going to have their match, and whoever wins. It's most likely going to be Bayley, and that'll be the end of it. They had Dash and Dawson backstage. They pretty much, talked about their whole thing with Cass and Enzo, and Cass and Enzo, and they're just like, like we've heard your all angry speech and everything that you're talking about how you want another title shot from us, and we're like, we beat you, go to back of the line, we're, yeah, you want to face us again, fine, we'll go ahead and face you again, and we'll make sure that that it ends the same way that it did the last time. So afterwards, we had the Emma and Carmella match. Emma in this match did not take Carmella seriously at all, which, as a heel, that's fine. If you undermine somebody and you don't think that they're that big of a deal, you should overlook them. This isn't like Asuka or anything like that. It's Carmella, plucky Carmella. And an interesting thing to note is Carmella actually brought up that her dad was actually a wrestler. I forgot who he was, but it was interesting that they actually brought up that information to try to sell you more on the fact that, she actually has a wrestling background. She's not just here because she's some pretty girl. They're trying. At some point, Carmella did get control. She hit she hit a Thez press on Emma, got her in the corner, and did her little Staten Island shuffle, and then Bronco busted her. At some point, Emma got back control. She tried to hit a suplex on Carmella, and she countered it into a backslide and just barely got the win over Emma and Dana. And I guess basically what they're trying to do is that they're having they're selling Carmella as pretty much just somebody who gets an opportunistic, a very opportunistic wrestler, where it's just like, okay, she sees her opportunity to strike and she'll win, but in a very face manner, not a heelish manner. If she can, get a backslide to win or roll you up, she'll do it, because she's not going to out wrestle anybody. That's ridiculous. Sami Zayn and Samoa Joe talked about the controversial finish to their match last week against Baron Corbin. Zayn says, hey, I should get the credit because I had the sharpshooter in on Corbin first, and I had it in there for the longest amount of time. But he said, you know what? I hope that William Regal will make the right call. Samoa Joe just goes and scares off whoever asked him the question about the match. And then they did a little promo segment for American Alpha. And then Enz and Cass came out for their match. Their match was against... It doesn't even matter who their match was against. It was against pretty much just two jobbers. They came out, squashed them, end of story. It was like a 2-minute match, nothing to really recap there. And then afterwards, we had Apollo Crews, who came out and he talked about getting robbed of his title shot, but that he wanted to make a statement against Finn Balor and show him why why he'll one day become NXT champion. And then we have William Regal make the big announcement. Oh, Miz! Oh, he went with the calf, the calf killer. Oh, nice. Okay, so they're actually letting him use a submission finish. Nice. Well, it might also be because the Miz doesn't know how to take the Styles Clash, which is fine. Whatever. He has 2 ways to win now, so I like that. So William Regal's ready to make the announcement, and Baron Corbin comes right in, and he's just like, listen, you better have some news regarding this match and what you're going to do with me. And he's just like, yeah, I do have some news. You're not in it, because there was one thing that was definitive. You lost. Baron Corbin goes and gets pissed off, and he's just like, this is stupid. He just leaves. And so he decides that it will be a rematch between Sami Zayn and Samoa Joe, and whoever wins becomes the #1 contender for the title. So after that, we finally had the main event. No, we didn't. We actually had probably the first entertaining match of the night, or the match that at least had my, I stayed awake for. Let me not say stayed awake for. It was the first match that like had some intrigue to me. It was Asuka versus Santana Garrett, who is actually a fabulous wrestler. She had a great match with Asuka here. She had the sort of match that makes you go and you look at this and you're like, Carmella is the number one contender, and this girl is supposed to be jobber. At least right now, Santana Garrett is a jobber in NXT. Because I don't think she's signed at all. She's just there just to do work. And you watch it and you're just like, wow, Santana Garrett looks like she could be the best, like one of the best wrestlers there right now. So they were going back and forth with one each other. They were pretty much trading blows, trading locks. But Asuka looked like they made Asuka look strong enough where it was that she was overpowering Garrett at points where I think she was getting frustrated with like missing kicks, and then she just went like through like a vicious forearm, or she put in like a really, really big submission move. Great back and forth action. I love the match. Asuka ends up winning with the Asuka lock. She did hip attack the shit out of Santana Garrett, though. There was one where like Santana Garrett was up on the ropes and she just hip attacked her so hard. It looked like it hurt. It seriously looked like it hurt. Great match, though. I think this match went like 3 or 4 minutes, and Asuka won with the Asuka lock. So then they had Finn Balor go backstage and talk. He said, he commended Regal on his decision. And, he talks about Apollo Crews a little bit and says, he's a great opponent, but I'm going to beat him because, I'm the best. So then Balor comes down to so Apollo Crews comes down to the ring, and then Balor comes out afterwards. And they shake hands, match starts, and there was a lot of like stalemates in the beginning where, they would just grapple and trade wrist locks and go back and forth. Stalemate. Then they go and do they do a few spots here and there. They start. I think Finn was starting to work the arm of Apollo Crews for a while because he requires his upper body strength in his arms in order to do both of his finishes. And then after that, they started going back and forth. Nobody's able to put the other guy away. Finn started to get a little bit frustrated as Apollo went for that power bomb that he does. He got out of it, and then Crews went to go set up for the he does the gorilla press slam, and then he goes and he does the moonsault and he hit it, and then Apollo Crews ended up kicking out of it. Finn Balor ended up kicking out of it. Finn Balor then got control again. He drop kicked Crews into the turnbuckle. Then he went for coup de grace, and then he realized, you know what, that's probably not going to be enough. And people were calling this the Bloody Sunday. It is not the Bloody Sunday. It is not. He hit him with a suplex at the end. So it was a suplex. I guess it was supposed to look like he dropped him on his head with the suplex. Goes for the cover, pins him 1, 2, 3. Finn Balor closes out the show, the winner. So yeah. Great match. It was fun. Afterwards, they went and they shook hands again. They gave a hug, and each guy put each other over. Where Finn Balor, congratulated and thanked him for a great match, and Apollo Crews pointed at him, saying, "Yep, that's why this is champ. He's a great wrestler." And the commentary put him over too, where they were just like, "Hey, no, there's no." nothing bad about losing to Finn Balor. I mean, he's the champion. He's been the best. The guy hasn't lost a singles match, I don't think, since Kevin Owens beat him. And I was like, that's almost a year ago now. So yeah, it's going to be a big deal when somebody actually beats him. Alrighty, let's see. Do we have anything for what wrestlers look like? Because that was it for NXT. I'm going to take a quick look at the Twitter right now and see what we've got. Only 10 notifications. And nobody sent in anything. I probably should have reminded you guys. I feel bad. All right, I'll take a few questions instead today. Let's see. All right, doesn't look like there's a lot of questions. Nobody's really talking. I'll give you some time here. Go like 5 more minutes, I suppose. I am very excited because I actually I just downloaded Final Fantasy VII, which is one of my favorite games of all time, and I will be spending a lot of time putting in work on that game. Love Final Fantasy VII. Somebody just asked me how my day went. Well, I just downloaded Final Fantasy VII, so my day's it's getting a little better. I'm actually feeling a little sick right now. I don't know if you could tell. I've been like coughing up a little bit here and there. But yeah, I'm doing pretty fine. It's way better than yesterday. Who do you think AJ Styles' opponent should be for Fastlane or WrestleMania? I think what they're doing is they're doing Jericho for Fastlane. For Mania, I don't know. A lot of people seem to be in favor of Kevin Owens. I actually don't want to see them do that quite yet. If you want to save maybe Kevin Owens and AJ Styles for SummerSlam, yes. But right now, no. I did see the New Day interview. Yes, it was great. Who do I think his opponent should be? I was gonna say no, because I want to see him start to get over too. I was gonna say Neville, but no. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you give him I seriously can't think of anybody. I've got nobody. Everybody's injured. You have to come back to me like next week for that one. Should Big E be the first black champion? I understand that question. Technically, The Rock is the first one. Big E or Kofi, honestly, as long as they're in this New Day gimmick, any one of them can win it, honestly. I don't care. I did see Big E give Cole a lap dance. Yes. If you have not seen the video, it is on WWE. It's Cole's usual segment. And this week he did it with the New Day. Neville versus Kalisto for the U.S. title at Mania. I would actually be behind that. I'd totally be okay with that match. All right, let's see. Any more questions? Yeah, Cesaro is in a live event. He's going to be there in Germany. He's going to be there for the Germany tour, or I guess the European tour, and he's scheduled for Germany. How come females wrestlers attire are more revealing now compared to female wrestlers back then? I mean, in a way, I mean, wrestling has changed over time. It's not even just for women; it's for guys too. Really, maybe not so much flashier or more exposed or revealing. I mean, Dean Ambrose comes to the ring in jeans and in a tank top. You have guys dressed up in bodysuits and all different sorts of weird things. It's just different. That's all I can really say. Just the sport evolves over time. Same thing with football. I mean, nobody's going out there wearing leather helmets anymore. It's just how it goes. Defect Dean with the IC title, it doesn't really. Other than if he wins, he'll have to defend two titles. The Authority can definitely do something with that. If they want to proactively try to get the title off of Dean, they can at least try to get one off of him and then continue to work the other one. All right, last one here. Do you feel like WWE is going to get better or worse after Mania? Better. It's got to. There's no way it can get any worse than what it is right now. All righty. That's going to be it for this week, guys. Thank you so much for coming out. Hopefully, I'll see you again next week. Same time, Thursday, 8 o'clock. This is Blackjack. Follow me on Twitter at It's21Blackjack. Follow the podcast Twitter at NeatQueenFinish. Till next time, see you guys later.